The pour over takes 4 minutes if you do it right. You've been doing it right for about 2 years now. There's a ritual to it that you've never described to anyone because describing it out loud would make you sound like a person with too much time on your hands, which is not what this is. It's just that you found something that requires exactly the right amount of attention, not so much that you can't think, not so little that your brain goes somewhere it shouldn't this early. The kettle, the bloom, the slow pour in circles, the dripping. Your phone is face up on the counter, 6:34 a.m. on a Tuesday in March. Memphis, the kind of morning that hasn't decided yet whether it wants to be cold or something else. The Fidelity app sent a notification at some point while you were asleep. You see it when you reach past the phone for the kettle. Account balance update, $1,002,440. You pour the water, slowly, in circles, the way you've been doing it for 2 years. Then you pick up the novel from the counter. Page 112. You've been on page 112 for 4 days, not because it's bad, because lately your brain keeps sliding off the words and sending you somewhere else, somewhere that has to do with numbers on a screen and the specific weight of having arrived at a place you've been walking toward for a long time. You put it back down, you pour your coffee, you sit at the kitchen table, you don't call anyone, you don't text anyone, you don't post anything. You sit in the particular quiet of a Tuesday morning in March and drink your coffee and try to locate the feeling you were supposed to have. It's not there, not the way you thought it would be. That's the part nobody warns you about. This started 8 years ago in a different city, a different kitchen, a rental in Nashville with a gas stove that clicked 4 times before it lit, and a roommate named Theo who kept a whiteboard in the living room with his 3-year financial goals written in blue marker, updated every Sunday night with the devotion of someone performing a ritual he believed in completely. Theo was in pharmaceutical sales, made good money, spent most of it. The whiteboard stayed mostly aspirational. You were 27. 2 years into a project management role at a mid-sized construction firm, the kind of job people describe as stable with a specific intonation that means something between reassuring and quietly pitying. $58,000 a year. You were good at the job. You were not on fire about the job. There's a difference, and you knew the difference, and knowing it was a low-level static that ran under most of your days. The thing that changed wasn't a book or a podcast or a conversation with a mentor. It was a spreadsheet. Your own spreadsheet, built on a Sunday afternoon in February when Theo was at the gym and you had nothing you had to do and something you can't quite name made you sit down and actually look at your money. Not the way you usually looked at it. The quick, slightly avoidant glance to confirm nothing had gone catastrophically wrong, but really look at it. Every account, every subscription, every automatic payment you'd half forgotten, where it came from, where it went, the full picture, honest and actual, laid out in a grid. It was not a pretty picture. $31,400 take home, $29,100 spent, $2,300 saved. You sat there for a while just looking at it, $2,300 saved in a year of working a full-time professional job. Not because you were irresponsible, not because anything had gone wrong, just because nobody had ever actually walked you through the gap between earning money and keeping it, and you'd navigated that gap the way most people do, by feel, by assumption, by the comfortable numbness of automatic payments and the promise that you'd deal with it properly later. Later was that Sunday. The mechanics of the next 8 years are not dramatic enough to hold anyone's attention for long, which is, if you think about it, the exact reason they worked. You opened a second checking account that same week, called it, without irony, the Do Not Touch account, automated a transfer of $400 into it on the first of every month, then $600, then $900 when you got a $4,000 raise 2 years in. Every raise went there, not all of it, half. Every bonus went there, not all of it, half. The other half you let yourself have, because you understood early that a plan with no breathing room doesn't hold. People break their own rules when the rules have no give. You gave yourself give. By year 3, $19,400 saved, not in a savings account earning 0.3%. In a brokerage account, invested in 3 index funds your accountant recommended, a woman named Carol who had an office above a dry cleaner on Charlotte Pike charged $200 for 1 hour, and told you in that hour more useful things about your money than you'd learned in the previous 27 years of your life. She said boring is the point. She said the people who get rich slowly are the people who get rich. She drew a compound interest curve on a legal pad and blue pen, tore the page off, and gave it to you. You still have it. It's in a folder in your desk drawer. You stayed at the construction firm until year 4, then moved to a larger firm, regional, better title, $78,000, then a federal infrastructure contractor, $96,000, then a director role at $114,000, which arrived the same month your brokerage crossed $200,000 for the first time, and you checked it on your phone in the parking garage of an Applebee's and sat there for a few minutes before going inside to meet your college friends for dinner. You didn't mention it at dinner, didn't mention it for a while after. Here's why. You watched what happened to a guy you worked with named Marcus, project manager, salt of the earth, the type who brought donuts on Fridays and remembered everyone's kids' names. Marcus came into some money, an inheritance, not life-changing but significant, and he mentioned it once in the break room, casually, the way you mention things before you understand their weight. Within a month the request started. Not rude. Not demanding, just constant. His brother-in-law's roofing business, a friend's medical bills, a cousin with a plan and a track record that didn't support the plan. Marcus spent 14 months navigating all of it. Last you heard, he had a smaller number and a larger distance between himself and several people he used to like. Information is a door. You learn to keep it closed. The account crossed $500,000 on a Wednesday afternoon while you were in a meeting about load-bearing wall specifications for a mixed-use development in East Memphis. You checked it under the conference table. You put your phone in your pocket. You asked a clarifying question about the structural drawings. The meeting continued. You told one person, a woman you've been with 3 years, steady and clear-eyed, who responded by saying, "Good, that's good," and then asking what you wanted for dinner, which was exactly the right response. One of the reasons you've never regretted telling her. She doesn't bring it up in front of other people. She treats the information the way competent people treat confidential information, with the quiet dignity of someone who understands its weight. The last $200,000 took 14 months. Not because anything slowed, because you changed jobs once more, a 6-week gap between roles, first time in 8 years, and you spent it doing the thing people say they'll do when they have time and never do, which is actually reading carefully about tax-advantaged accounts and asset allocation and the specific mechanics of turning a number on a screen into something that functions reliably for decades. You maxed the 401k, you opened an HSA, you opened a Roth. Carol called the whole structure clean architecture, said it like a compliment. For Carol, that was practically gushing. There are things the number doesn't do. It doesn't change what Tuesday mornings feel like. The alarm still goes off at 6:15. The meeting is still on the calendar. The drive on I-40 is still the drive on I-40. Same exit, same coffee shop with the broken drive-through speaker that's been broken for 8 months. Same parking spot if you get there before 7:45. It doesn't touch the part of you that still reads a bank balance with the faint anxiety of someone who grew up watching their parents' faces go tight on the 15th of the month. That anxiety doesn't dissolve when the number changes. You thought it might. It doesn't. It just sits there, a little quieter, a little smaller, but present. Still present. There's a conversation you can't have with your parents. Your father worked for the same manufacturing company for 29 years. Your mother did medical billing from home when you were in high school, sitting at the kitchen table with paper files and a landline. They are careful people. Good people. They scrimped and planned and sent you to college with the belief that the degree was the strategy. The degree was the thing that would make the difference. They were right. They just couldn't have known you'd take what the degree got you and stack it with something quieter, something they never had the runway to try. You think about calling your mother sometimes and just saying the number. You don't do it, not because you're ashamed, because you love her and you know what it would do to her. Not anything bad, just a weight she'd carry on your behalf that you don't need her to carry. She already gave you everything she had. That's enough. That's more than enough. Wealth at $1 million is a strange kind of ordinary. You know how that sounds. $1 million is not ordinary by any measure that matters, but the ordinary is the texture of it, the way it sits inside your regular life without displacing anything. Same highway, same lunch spot on Union Avenue, counter service, $12.50, a woman named Deb who's worked the register 6 years and calls everyone baby without making it weird. Same alarm. What it does, the only thing it actually does that you can feel, is change the quality of the silence. When something goes wrong at work, when a client pushes back or a project runs over, there is a layer now where there used to be nothing. A floor. Not thick, not impenetrable, just there. The specific terror of catastrophe, of the real unrecoverable thing, runs at a different frequency than it used to. That is worth more than the number. That is, if you're being honest, the whole point of the number. You finish your coffee, rinse the cup, pick up the novel from the counter. Page 112. You sit back down. The morning light comes through the kitchen window at the low angle that belongs specifically to early March in a city that's been waiting for warmth. Outside, a car backs down a driveway. A dog 2 houses over makes a sound once and stops. You read 3 pages, then 4. The fidelity notification is still on your lock screen. You'll look at it properly later. Or you'll swipe it away and it'll just be Tuesday, project review at 9, lunch on Union Avenue, Deb calling you baby, the broken drive-through speaker on the way home, $1,002,440. You read another page. That's the whole morning. That's the whole point. 8 years, 1 spreadsheet, 1 Sunday afternoon when your roommate was at the gym and something you still can't name sat you down and made you actually look. That's the origin. Smaller than it sounds, quieter than people want it to be. Most real things are.